House sharing at over 50 or at midlife isn't the easiest way to live. So in this video, I'm going to share how I've turned my room in a house share into my own sanctuary that's peaceful, nurturing and welcoming, and a space when I know that when I close my room door, I can come in and just sigh and just breathe that relief that I'm in a space that's mine. We often imagine that when we get to our 50s that we'd have our own house or our own home, living on our own, making that home comfortable and nurturing and peaceful. However, having done the two previous videos, I never realized how many of us are house sharing at over 50 or at midlife. If you haven't watched my previous videos, there are great challenges that comes with house sharing. We've all got different ways of how we want to live, when we need to get up, when we want to go to bed, and just generally how we spend our day in our own homes. And for me, it's been really, really important to create my room as a way of creating a sanctuary for myself and a space where I can relax when I am sharing other spaces in the house. If you're new here, I'm Shirley, and I started over 3 years ago at the age of 55 after being in a challenging relationship. And where I am now is my second house share, and I have been a lot more settled and peaceful here. So I thought I'd show you around. This is what my room currently looks like, and when I moved in here, the only thing that was in here was the bed, and pretty much everything in this room I have collected over time. And this is the view from the door and looking out through the window. So now I thought I'd give you a closer look at what I've got in the rooms, and we are going to start. So we're at the doorway. This is a heater, and it's actually really helpful because we've got a 3-bedroom house and a little room next door to me, which pretty much could, I guess, be used as a nursery or an office. And that's how big the house is. So you can imagine how expensive that is. So that's why we've got these little heaters in the rooms. And as you can see, I hang my hand towel there just to dry it when I'm not using it. And next to the heater is my bin, which I purposely emptied out for this video. And that over there is my washing basket. Next to my washing basket is a studio light, which I've had since I still had my flat in West London. And sometimes I turn that on when I'm using my old camera. So this is my desk and where I spend most of my days. So on my desk, I have my journal underneath Joe Dispenza's book and my coffee cup from this morning because I haven't been downstairs since. There's only one PowerPoint in the room, which is behind my clothes basket. So, which is why I've had to buy this gizmo. I don't know what it's called, but it's been really helpful because it's got the heater, the studio light, that white one there is for my air purifier, and I think behind on the other side there is the socket for my laptop. So as you can see, I need lots of gizmos just to do this YouTube malarkey. Those are the chargers for my 2 cameras, which I don't really use anymore. And I need to put them away because this phone has been really so much lighter and better when it comes to recording. And just to show you something really pretty, this is what my niece made for me last year. And she comes up with these things, which are so lovely. So I just keep them there because it makes me happy every time I see them. And she also made me that one over there, because that's from a 3D printer thing. And they just make me happy and make me smile. That's what my desk looks like. These are my headphones and my mic set up. Now, before some people comment and say, oh, Shirley, those aren't cheap equipment, can I just tell you now that I've had this equipment or the mic since 2020, and the same for the headphones. Please note that I wasn't always this limited funds, and this is how long they've lasted. The laptop has been since 2018, and my glasses and a Rubik's Cube for when I really can be bothered to use my brain for something new. My pyramid, which I've also had since I had my flat in West London, that is the lotion that I use. And also there's the pens and things like that. In the top drawer is where I keep my mics now. There used to be pens and other things in there. This plant is what I got for my birthday last year. I used to have more plants on the windowsill, and one of the plants was a money tree or a jade tree. I'd taken it with me because, you know, when it's that part of you and you've watered it, you've nurtured it, and you just feel a closeness or a connection with it. But as time went on, especially last year, now when that plant was bought was when I started living with my now ex, and I bought it because I was thinking, okay, we've started living together, this will be a sort of a symbol of growth and new starts and things like that. And that's how I came to water it and nurture it. And you give it love, don't you? It's like your pet, so to speak. But last year I came to a point where every time I looked at it, I'd feel down. And I know it's the connection between having bought it at a certain point of my life, which soured, and the reason that I'm in a house share. And it just started making me feel bad instead of love and nurturing. So, unfortunately, I had to get rid of it. And I did the ritual of, I'm sorry, I send you back to the ether, or I send you back with light and love. And I think I may have to do that again because this was another plant that was bought on my 55th birthday. And it just made me think before I did this video that my 55th birthday was probably one of the unhappiest days in my life. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, plant. I really am. And I think we get to a point in our lives, especially when we've had to start over again, that for us to move on, we've got to let go of some things. That's one thing that I'm doing this year, is getting rid of a lot of stuff that no longer has a space or a place in the life that I'm living now. So the next thing I'm going to show you is my air purifier. I tend to have that in the evening when it gets a bit hot. And the reason I bought that a couple of years ago is because sometimes the room gets really stuffy and I have asthma. And there's something that comes in the room that makes me cough and brings on my asthma. So I use that when I need it. And my water, this little dish type thing, was something that my daughter gave me, and it's so unusual and pretty. And last year I bought this from a charity shop. The reason I bought it was I went through a phase last year where I thought, look, I've got all these pretty things that are hidden and I never use, and I just wanted to feel like I mattered, or I just wanted to wear pretty things and not things like these all the time in my tracksuit bottoms. So last year or during the summer was a great excuse for me to wear necklaces and things like that. I think the reason that this thing was in the charity shop is that with the lid open, it doesn't sit up on its own. So the first thing I have in there is a oops, heart necklace, which is a Swarovski, and I think it's a silver chain. So that's the first one that makes me feel like a lady still. Oh, the joys of recording. And this is, sorry. Oh, that's the rest of that chain. And this chain is it's just a nice, simple gold chain. And my daughter bought that for me many, many years ago. And I enjoyed wearing them last year. And that's where I kept them. So they're dust free. On this side of my desk is where I hide things that really should be hidden, or like it's more admin stuff, and an old hard drive, which I've got old stuff in there. Also, my watercolor, which I'm really bad because I haven't really used them. This is another one of the studio lights which I used to use last winter. There's actually 3 of them, and one is in my storage. This thing here is my tripod, and I bought that many years ago when I was still a midwife and had money to spend. Another little tripod, and this is a corkboard, which at the beginning I used to use for my post-it notes to remind me of really nice sayings and phrases that kept me positive. But sometimes people come in here, little people come in here, and I just feel like they're a bit personal for other people to read. So I took them off, and now they hide my stash. So this was my birthday present way back in October. See, that's how much I drink. That was middle of October when that was given to me as a birthday present. This, admittedly, is empty. I just need to take it out. And I bought that, probably way back in before Christmas. And I also have still a bottle of Baileys. And again, I bought that way before Christmas, and I think there's about 3/4 of a bottle left. So this is my side table, which had stationery and my camera and other things in it, and my bed. So this is the bed that was here when I moved in. And as you can see, it's got the fluffy throw and another throw at the bottom. Because if you watched my previous video, you'll know that I moved within 2 weeks. This duvet is a 4-top, which is pretty much a summer duvet. And for this weather, it's just not warm enough. And that's why I've got the throws on top of the duvet. The first 3 months, I didn't have this chest of drawers. So whenever I needed to change my clothes or like everyday stuff that you need, I had to get into the wardrobe, into a box that I have in there which had all my everyday clothes. And I did that for 3 months. And then one day my sister-in-law said, Manang, which is sister in Filipino, she said, I think you need drawers. And I said, yes, please, that would be great. So they got this for me just for a bit of fun and show you that my life hasn't always been this limited. I thought I'd show you some of the clothes that I have in my wardrobe. Now, I'm not going to put them on because it just means getting changed and all that. I do have a limited time today, so I will just show you. Let me know if you'd really like to see how they look with me trying them on, and maybe that's something that we can do in another video. So I do have shirts that I can use. I think this might be one of the things that might have to go. There's my little bag. I do have a handbag, but when you're over 50 and you're not going out apart from shopping and things like that, you don't need anything expensive. So this is what my other side looks like. That salt lamp is a present that I got from my son, oh, probably 20 odd years ago. My little elephant, which is something that I symbolize as looking after my room, and another plant, which is my peace lily. I bought this a couple of years ago and it's just so nice and bushy. I didn't think it would like that space because it's so far away from the window, but it's thrived. I bought this when I was still working part-time. This was my way of making my room a bit more homely and smelling nice and things like that. But when I went back to Next and looked at how much the refill was, and it was 20 quid, so I thought, nope, I'm not that desperate for a nice smell in my room. That jar was first housing these twinkly lights, and I did buy these twinkly lights, I think last year or the year before, as the background for my videos, my talking videos, when I used to do the videos in here. And they used to be in that little jar. But like all things, when we're constricted, it doesn't really show our potential. So I've put it in the bigger jar, and you can see it looks so much better. And I've got another one of those socket points because otherwise nothing reaches this end. And that's how I create a nice, quiet, peaceful sanctuary in my room that's in a shared housing environment. And I'm really glad it's only us here, that we don't have to share with strangers, so to speak. And it's really important when you're sharing with other people to make sure that your room is your own as much as you can and make it comfortable and comforting and nurturing, and that when you close the door to your room, that you can come in here and it makes you feel peaceful and nurtured. And I think that's really important. So I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into my room in house sharing space at midlife or over 50. And let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.